Hey guys, I don't care what sport you watch. This is where the best information is. Today we are examining the NFL franchise tag window and the strategic roster reset currently underway in Miami. We break down the salary cap mechanics behind the Dolphins' release of Tyreek Hill and Bradley Chubb, analyze the leverage implications of the franchise tag for George Pickens, and evaluate the massive dead money calculations surrounding Tua Tagovailoa's contract status.
To it.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Well, it means from today until 4 p.m. Eastern on March 3rd, teams can apply the franchise or transition tags to a player. One player per team maximum each year. And the franchise tag obviously keeps a potential free agent player off the market while the team ostensibly works to do a long-term deal with that player. Transition tag, same thing, but at a lower price and with different kind of conditions.
Yeah, and that's important, too, because it opens today, but there's certainly an amount of time to get this thing done. So now that we've set it up, let's run a little bit of the hurry-up offense. When you look at this big picture, Dan, of all the players that could be tagged, which players most likely to be tagged at the end of the franchise tag window?
George Pickens of the Cowboys. I mean, this is a situation where they've had him for 1 year. They're already paying CeeDee Lamb top-of-the-market wide receiver money. George Pickens, a franchise tag, would probably be about $28 million this year. Cowboys would do a long-term deal with him, but that could be a long and protracted negotiation. I know that sounds shocking. We talk about the Cowboys, but I think that's probably what happened.
Every year they have one, and that could be the one. Moves made yesterday. What were they?
Dolphins cutting a lot of cap space. The most prominent release they made was wide receiver Tyreek Hill, who now becomes a free agent, free to sign with any team anytime he wants. Doesn't need to wait till next March, or until next month, rather, which is March. But Tyreek Hill coming off a significant injury, and we'll see what the level of interest is in him at 32 years old.
Yeah, and then one of the things, if we're connecting the dots now as we bring in Dominic Foxworth and Tim Hasselbeck, Neek, the biggest thing here is like, oh, he's free again, Tyreek Hill. He's going to be reunited with the Chiefs. That's the common thought because it's easy to do that. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think that a talent like Tyreek Hill, most teams would be willing to add him to the roster, but I think Graz already alluded to the big question marks around him. He's coming off of a really severe injury where he dislocated his kneecap and tore a number of ligaments, and he'll be 32 next month, which is around the age when receivers fall off. So if he goes to the Chiefs, I think the expectation should not be, or if he goes anywhere, honestly, the expectation should not be that he's a true number one. Of course, he'll have an impact because he's that type of athlete, but I think he's past the point in his career where you can build an offense around him being the explosive players, and I think the Chiefs already know that.
Yeah, but he is a nice veteran receiver if you bring him in, and he is healthy. Again, you said he's got the speed. He can come in and make something happen should he reunite with the Chiefs, and that offense needs a bit of a pick-me-up. So, Graz, that was some of the moves with the Dolphins yesterday. What was another move, or what could they do coming up next?
Well, they also released a couple other guys, most prominently Bradley Chubb, the edge rusher. But the key question for the Dolphins now is quarterback Tua Tagovailoa, who was benched toward the end of last year. Now you have a new coach and a new GM coming in. Tua guaranteed $54 million this year, even if they were to release him. So the Dolphins not in a hurry to make that move. I think they believe there's a chance at least, or at least some hope, that they could work out a trade with some other team for Tua Tagovailoa. They might have to eat a chunk of that money in order to do that. But if they cut him, it's $99.2 million in dead money, which is a monster number that they'd love to find some way to avoid.
And, Tim, we know Tua didn't even finish the season as the starter for the Dolphins. So what do you think his future looks like with Miami?
Yeah, I think the decision's been made on him in Miami. And, Graz alluded to it. They're either going to cut him and eat the entire, dead cap money. It's a reset in Miami. Obviously, new head coach. You look at the division. They're not in a win-now situation when you look at New England and Buffalo. And so you look at these players that they're releasing. It's a rebuild in Miami. So, look, if Miami can find a trade partner where, they take the sting out of it a little bit, eat some of the contract, but somebody assumes the rest of his contract because they're looking for a veteran quarterback, then fine. I think that's really unlikely to happen. Ultimately, Miami probably ends up cutting him and then just taking their medicine now as they try to rebuild.
Meek?
Yeah, and I think Tua has the pedigree of a quarterback that I think would be pretty attractive. But given the fact that he hasn't had that much success and he has a pretty prominent injury history and a huge contract, I think it's going to be hard for them to move him. And it's certainly going to be difficult for anyone who thinks they're going to take on some of that cap hit to relieve the Dolphins. They're in a bad spot, but I think someone will take Tua once they finally release him. But it's going to be a real challenge to figure out where somebody will be interested in trading for him, despite the fact that I think talent-wise, he's better than a lot of the quarterbacks that are out there right now.
And you wonder if he's even better than Quinn Ewers, who they ended the season with. You've got to expect they're going to do something at quarterback.
Even if they were to release Tua, they'll bring in somebody else. They have Ewers, who played at the end of last year. I just want to make the point, though, the $99.2 million in dead money is a huge number, would be a record. But it's roughly the same percentage of this year's salary cap, projected salary cap, that the $80 million was 2 years ago when the Broncos cut Russell Wilson. Obviously, they've been able to rebound pretty quickly. So it's not necessarily a death sentence for their cap.
Someone say the Dolphins have 99 problems and Tua isn't one. Hembo loved it.
Some might say. We'll look for somebody else.
All right.
The strategic landscape of the NFL offseason is defined by asset management and salary cap manipulation. And the situation in Miami provides a textbook case study in dead money tolerance versus roster flexibility. When analyzing the Miami Dolphins' decision to purge high-value veterans like Tyreek Hill and Bradley Chubb, we must look beyond the names and understand the fiscal restructuring. This is a calculated hard reset. The release of Tyreek Hill is particularly significant from a tactical standpoint. At 32 years old, Hill is approaching the statistical cliff for speed-reliant receivers. The transcript notes a severe injury history involving a dislocated kneecap and torn ligaments. Biomechanically, this injury compromises the torque required for the hard cuts and explosive acceleration that defines Hill's separation ability. Teams evaluating him in free agency must weigh the risk of a declining athletic profile against the cost of acquisition. He is no longer a foundational volume target, but rather a complementary vertical stretcher. The situation with Tua Tagovailoa represents a complex leverage battle centered on the concept of sunk costs. The potential $99.2 million dead cap hit mentioned is a staggering figure in isolation, but as noted in the analysis, it must be viewed as a percentage of the total projected salary cap. The comparison to the Denver Broncos absorbing Russell Wilson's $85 million hit is the relevant precedent. Front offices are increasingly willing to absorb 1 year of significant fiscal pain, effectively burning a season of cap space to rectify a long-term roster misalignment. The $54 million guaranteed cash for Tua serves as a mechanism that makes a trade difficult. An acquiring team would need to view him as a definitive starter to justify that expenditure, which is unlikely given his recent performance and injury history. Consequently, Miami's optimal strategy may be to simply take the medicine, absorbing the record-breaking dead cap hit to clear their books entirely for the following fiscal year, rather than engaging in a complex trade that yields minimal return assets. Simultaneously, the franchise tag window opening creates a specific leverage point for the Dallas Cowboys regarding George Pickens. The projected $28 million tag value acts as a restraint on the wide receiver market. By utilizing the tag, Dallas avoids committing to the long-term guarantees that the current WR market demands, especially after already resetting the market with CeeDee Lamb. This allows the team to rent Pickens' services for 1 additional year while assessing the long-term viability of paying 2 wide receivers top-tier money. The transition tag, mentioned as a lower-cost alternative with right of refusal conditions, is rarely used for premium talent because it allows the player to solicit offer sheets, but it remains a tool for specific negotiation stalemates. Ultimately, these moves signify a shift in the AFC East hierarchy. Miami is signaling a withdrawal from the immediate contention window to restructure their portfolio, while Dallas attempts to maintain a competitive window through short-term contract mechanisms. This is the difference between roster liquidation and roster maintenance.